All right, we're starting another Hall Class podcast interview here today, and I'm sitting here with the Jensens. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm Evan Jensen. I grew up in Georgia and moved out here for medical school, and we moved into the ward not too long ago, and excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm Lindsey Jensen, and I grew up in Temecula, so just up the road.
What's your maiden name, by the way?
Oh, Shagru.
Yeah, I'll never spell that.
Yeah, no one can spell it right. It's definitely easier to say and spell now. Yeah.
What was it like growing up in Temecula? We've all been up there, things we like. What was it like for you in Temecula?
Loved it. Aunts, uncles, grandparents, everyone was there. Lots of members of the church there too. Yeah, it was great. Great experience. Now we're closer to the beach, so it's better, but it still wasn't that far, so...
All right, so tell me about growing up in Temecula, Lindsey. So, by the way, were you there your whole life, or did you live somewhere else before?
We moved there when I was 7.
So basically your whole life.
Yeah.
Okay. Went to high school there. Like, what did you like to do? Like, activities or school activities?
I did cheer and I did track, and student government. My grandparents lived on some property out there, so we rode horses all the time. Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's really fun.
All right. And how about you, Evan? So growing up in Georgia, are you a Bulldog fan?
I got a lot of buddies that went to UGA, so I'm kind of a Bulldog fan. Maybe not this year after they lost to Bama, but a little bit of a Bulldog fan, yeah.
Okay. What's it like growing up in Georgia?
It was different, probably a little bit different than Temecula. The church is still pretty small in Georgia, but the nice thing about that is that all the members were really close. My ward probably had 5 high schools in it, so you didn't go to school with a lot of your church friends, but it was really fun to do seminary or do stake dances and things like that. And it was kind of a unique thing being like the only active member in my graduating class in high school, so it was kind of a different experience than growing up in Temecula for sure.
What did you like doing as a kid growing up?
Yeah, growing up, most of my time was spent playing baseball. I started playing baseball probably at 4 or 5 and then played competitive baseball all the way through middle school and high school, and pretty much did that until I hurt my elbow and then got surgery on that and just stopped playing baseball for the end of high school. But after that, we started getting into mountain biking a little bit more. We'd always take spring break and winter break ski trips to go back to Utah and go visit family and go ski. So that kind of consumed most of our time between skiing and mountain biking and baseball.
A lot of outdoor stuff, huh?
A lot of outdoor stuff. My dad was very outdoorsy growing up and taught us to ski early and got us biking pretty early as well. And yeah, we still do it to this day. He was just actually out here, and I think he was very excited to come out here so he could mountain bike with me and one of Lindsey's uncles as well. So yeah, it's been a fun thing that we've been able to share, me, my dad, and my younger brother.
Okay. I forgot to ask, what part of Georgia did you grow up in?
So just north of Atlanta, it's a little area called Alpharetta or Johns Creek. It's probably 35 to an hour north of Atlanta.
Okay, got it. You were talking about seminary. I'm curious what that was like. Did you guys meet at a church building or somebody's house, or what'd you do?
So we met in people's basements, actually. So we would meet with 1 or 2 high schools, and we would all meet early morning, 6:15, 6:30-ish, I think is when we would normally start. And we'd do an hour in someone's basement and have some breakfast and just all squeeze in there on the couch or a couple of, chairs that they would bring in from the stake center and stuff like that. So definitely no early release and no, in school seminary, but it was really fun. And I still think about those days really fondly. But yeah, it was definitely difficult getting up for those when I was growing up.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so after high school, where'd you go? Let's start with Lindsey. What'd you do after high school?
After high school, I went to BYU, Idaho. And I went for a year, and then I served my mission at Temple Square in Salt Lake. And then I went back to BYU, Idaho, and graduated, and then moved to Utah. So I got my degree in teaching, and had a great time in Idaho. It was so much fun. We skied Targhee and Jackson, every weekend during the winter, so it's a good time.
All right, so I want to break it all down. So you were Temple Square's sister. I got so many questions.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Man, that's a whole nother,
That's like its own world, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
All right, so when you got called there, were you stoked?
I I was surprised. I was surprised that I got called to serve in Salt Lake City, Utah. And then I was really excited. I was surprised because that's where my dad guessed I was going to go. And when he said that, I was like, don't say that. And then I opened it and he was right. So he just wanted me to go somewhere that was really safe. And I think it is like the safest mission. There's like security guards at your mission all around. So yeah.
So tell us about, people have been there have obviously seen Sisters on Temple Square. I know part of it, it's a totally different routine, different environment. I also know you get sent typically to another mission for 4 or 6 months, well, at least historically. I don't know if it was during your mission. So I'm curious, can you tell us a little bit about like a day-to-day, what the day-to-day is like as a missionary on Temple Square?
Yeah, so I feel like there's a little bit of like a misconception with Temple Square. People think that you don't get to do like the normal missionary work and teach lessons and baptize, and you definitely get to do part of that. It's kind of like split half and half. You are giving tours, you're giving tours to tourists that are coming, you're also giving tours to official people that are visiting the church, so ambassadors that are coming to visit with the presidency of the church and stuff. And a lot of the times we find people to teach through tours, because it's not just people from out of state that are coming to visit, but like local people that have never been. If they're out of state, then we refer them, and they want to learn more, you refer them to the other missionaries in their local area. And yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh, and I went to Virginia for 3 months in the middle of my mission to do the real like knocking on doors proselyting experience. So
When were you in Virginia, by the way?
It was like 2015.
A little early.
Yeah.
I was thinking of somebody else I know that went there.
Okay.
And so during the day, are you on Temple Square for 8 hours? What do you do at night? How's that schedule look?
Yeah, so you go to Temple Square. They have 2 different shifts depending on like which zone you're in. It's really interesting how they run it. There's like 8 different zones, and they all have something that they focus on. So depending if you were like morning shift or afternoon shift, some groups had their like companionship study, which is usually in the morning. They would switch it and have it at night so that they could be the first ones right when Temple Square opened. You would rotate between giving tours, teaching online through the Mormon.org chats. So those are the missionaries that respond to everyone who's online asking to learn more, or some of the trolls that come on too. And then you might go have like a few hours to teach in-person lessons, and then back to tours. They give you every transfer, so every 6 weeks, they give you a color-coded schedule, and it's like hour by hour of your day that's like already blocked out. So there's a few hours in there that are up to you to schedule your teaching time, but really your schedule is like made for you for the 6 weeks, and you just follow it every day. That's
cool. Are you assigned strictly like around the Tabernacle and the Visitor Center, or are you in some of the museums as well?
That also depends on like which zone you're in and what your zone's assignment is, but I might be assigned to stand inside the Tabernacle and greet those people from 8 to 10 or 8 to 9, and then I move to the North Visitor Center desk for an hour, one of those desks. They also do the Beehive House, which is Brigham Young's old house, and Welfare Square, and the Humanitarian Center, which are drives from Temple Square about 10-15 minutes. And if you go to those, you're there for the day. So those are usually like once a week.
Did you find that there was like a favorite assignment that you'd like to have?
We just called it square time, and that's when you are able to just walk around Temple Square and you get to kind of contact and proselyte, and you're not like assigned to a certain spot. And I think that was everyone's favorite, because we could approach people in any way that we wanted to, and on any of the church properties. So it could be like officially Temple Square, Conference Center, like kind of around City Creek, so we could kind of wander a little more and find people.
I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. Yeah. Tell us about like maybe the craziest experience and then like the sweetest experience you had on Temple Square.
I think the craziest thing about Temple Square is a lot of people come that are seeking, like,
antagonistic?
Well, yeah, like there's people that come because they know it's a special place and they want to feel the Spirit, or they're interested, or they feel drawn there. And then there's people that are angry that come and they try to waste sister missionaries' time. And yeah, it's pretty common to have people that pretend to be investigators, and they will take up like hours of your day and then end it with like a Bible bash and then and leave you. But I think that just made, I think every Temple Square missionary, their knowledge of the scriptures and their testimony gets put through like the fire because of those people, and they come out stronger in the end. So when I went to Virginia and people thought we were getting Bible bashed, I was like, oh, this is nothing. I was like, that was a pleasant conversation compared to the antis that I'm used to. And then I think the sweetest was, there's so many, but there's just miracles like every day that happen there. And I think the Spirit is already there at Temple Square. And so allowing, I don't know, I just think that you're just so sensitive to it because the temple's right there and the Christus is right there, and being able to teach people about modern day prophets while you're standing in the tabernacle, and you get to kind of like have the best missionary discussions because you have everything in front of you to show them. I got to teach people about the temple, and I could show them the temple cutout in every room in the temple, which normally you don't get to do. So
is there anything about Temple Square or somewhere up there in the area that, not necessarily like secret, but something that we might not readily know that you learn about?
I thought the tunnels were pretty interesting.
Yes.
And the way that you can touch your badge and stuff like that. I thought all that was interesting.
All the sister missionaries have badges that get us into certain tunnels that connect the different church buildings. And some of our badges don't work for certain tunnels because those are areas that we don't have access to. But we could go from our mission office, which was in the basement of one of the buildings, to the church office building basement, which passed the tunnels from the temple that connected them. And so we kind of found out that at this day, at this time, this is when the first presidency meets in the temple for their normal meeting. And they end at this time, and then they all go back to their offices. So we would time having lunch around the same time. Conveniently. And we often would pass them through the tunnels, and they would stop and talk to us. So we got to meet a lot of the apostles and church leaders, and they were always so kind and would always want to talk to the sister missionaries. So we'd often see them in the tunnels, and they'd stop and say hi. Especially if you had a companion from a very unique country, because we all have our flags. So they'd want to stop and talk to those sisters.
Where were your companions from?
All over the place. I had a companion from China. So she obviously got baptized, not in China, but in Australia, but she was from China. Argentina, Australia, the Czech Republic, Tonga, Switzerland.
Wow.
I'm trying to think. There's so many.
Did you ever have anyone from the States?
I had one companion from the U.S., but the rest were from everywhere else.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's a really interesting mission. Evan, top that.
Yeah,
I can.
Evan.
I for sure can. I at least learned a new language on my mission, but I didn't serve with so many diverse, different missionaries. And I definitely didn't meet as many members of the 12 as you did. But I served my mission in Argentina. I was in Mendoza, which is kind of very similar climate and everything to here in Southern California, but just on the opposite hemisphere, just south.
Awesome. And tell us about, some people have served missions in Argentina, etc. Tell us about like the food and just the living experience there before we talk about, teaching and spiritual stuff.
Yeah, I remember when I got my call, I was thinking, at that time I was at BYU, and, you think that everything south is just Mexico, essentially. And you're like, I wonder if I'm going to be eating like tacos and burritos and things like that. And that is definitely not the food of Argentina. It has a lot of European influences. A lot of people are from, have Italian or German roots. So a lot of the food is very kind of similar to Italian food. You eat a lot of pasta, a lot of meat. Empanadas is one of the big things that you'll eat a lot of in Argentina. And they have these desserts called alfajores that are like, I don't know, they're just like little mini pastries with dulce de leche, which is just like really good caramel in between them. So the food is really good. I came back, I'm like probably 185 right now. I came back, I think like 205 or 210 for my mission. So that tells you how good the food is there. But you know, it was a really awesome, unique place. The church was growing while I was there. It certainly wasn't growing as fast as it was in Brazil or say Africa or things like that. But definitely a lot of growth there. And then it was cool. Just a couple of years ago, they announced a temple in Mendoza as well. So it's nice to see that it's continued to grow even since I've left.
Are you a Messi fan?
I am a Messi fan. Yes. Right before I left on my mission in 2014. And I think maybe I left in August. And I think maybe 2 weeks before I left was the year that Argentina lost to Germany in the World Cup finals. And so that was kind of difficult seeing them lose. And then when I was there, they played in the Copa America and they also lost that to Chile. So when I was there, it really seemed like Argentina was struggling, but it was cool to come back and see Argentina finally win a World Cup. And now Messi's in the States and playing and things like that. So it's kind of cool. But soccer in Argentina is just a whole nother world. There would be games that were so big that they wouldn't let us go out the day after for our safety and things like that. And it is definitely something that rules that country, and it was really fun to see.
Oh, that's interesting. Tell us what a typical day was like for you on your mission.
Yeah, so a typical day is, it kind of stuck to a pretty traditional missionary schedule of getting up at 6:30, doing 30 minutes to an hour of exercise, and you had your personal study in the morning. The only time that things changed were during the summers when we had really long days. We would take siesta. So everyone in the middle of the day takes a big nap in Argentina, so no one's answering their doors, all the shops are closed and things like that. So instead we would do our personal study during the time when everyone was taking siesta, and that allowed us to stay out till I believe 9 or even 10 at night. I can't really remember. But it was really nice because, people in Argentina eat dinner at like 9 p.m. Even little kids, 7 years old, are still eating dinner at 9 p.m. because everyone's taking this big long nap in the middle of the day. So I think that was one of the unique things in terms of the schedule. But most of the time, if we didn't have lessons scheduled, it was pretty traditional tracting, and it kind of depended on the area. I served in some more rural areas, so we would literally get on our bikes and bike almost a mile between these massive vineyards and, go and talk to the families that lived there and worked there on the vineyards. And there was other areas that were more densely populated, and you would just kind of go apartment to apartment, talk to people, and you take buses everywhere, so you talk to a lot of people on buses. You talk to a lot of kids on the street playing soccer and things like that. So it just kind of depends on your area, but you end up just talking to a lot of people. And then a lot of what we did too was the kind of the record books weren't fantastic. There was a lot of people that had joined the church and you couldn't really find where they're at. So we would spend a lot of time seeing if members still lived in areas. And if they didn't still live there, that was a great opportunity to talk to them about why you were there and why you were looking for that member, and talk to them about the gospel. Or if they were there and they hadn't been back to church, reactivate them. And, plenty of times they would come back to church, and happens now they have a 10-year-old kid that is, going to be taking the lessons and learning more about the church with the family and getting baptized. So it was kind of a fun thing to go through all of that and try to clean up all the records and then meet investigators that way.
I heard somebody say a long time ago that area books and records are filled with the spirit of inspiration.
They really are, and you really have to use that spirit depending on the missionaries that were with that area book before you, because some things are illegible.
On mine, mid-mission, they were trying to transfer to electronic area books, so I don't know how that's going now, but...
I hope
everyone started getting iPads and iPhones.
They do.
Yeah.
They're done like that now.
Yeah.
It's a lot more detailed. Well, a question that can go to both of you, and I don't know who wants to go first. How did your mission change you?
So much. I remember before my mission, I was still pretty diligent and like committed to school and things like that. But I think one thing that really my mission taught me was the importance of hard work and the importance of diligence in the gospel, in school, in my career, in my relationships. And I just came back with really good time management and a lot of dedication. And one thing that was really nice for me was studying the scriptures on my mission. I always studied the scriptures, and I've been a member of the church my whole life, but that was really the first time that I read the entire Book of Mormon several times and really read it looking for things for me and read it for things pertaining to my investigators, where before I had just read it to read it and check that box off for seminary. So scriptures and hard work were things that I think really changed for me on my mission.
How about you, Lindsey?
I'd say the same thing. I think that's where you go through the refiner's fire of your testimony, and then you come out. You go through your own personal conversion, because missions are hard. So I definitely think that that's where my testimony was strengthened, and I really grew to, I think, appreciate the gospel and other cultures and see how they were able to live their culture and adopt the gospel and Christ's teachings into it as well. Because at Temple Square, most of the sister missionaries that serve there's 200, and at a time there might be 10 from the U.S., and most are from other countries all over the world. And so growing up in kind of the typical church culture in the United States, where I grew up around a lot of members and stuff, it was interesting to be with companions and other sister missionaries and see how that translated to their life and their homeland and their country, and watch their strong testimonies, and how much more difficult it was for them to live maybe the gospel because of where they were from, and how that counteracted some of their homeland beliefs too. So I just grew a lot of respect for those sisters and where they're from, and it's really beautiful to just see the gospel honestly from all over the world and all over all those perspectives too. So
I remember my mission president saying one time that in a lot of instances, when a missionary that we might be frustrated with, that hey, so and so is not doing whatever, right? Our mission president would always remind us that we're training them to be leaders in these areas that don't have traditional church and culture and experience. And so I'm sure you had a lot of that on your mission as well.
Yeah, I remember working with my mission president, and him really his main priority was, I want to be able to strengthen these sisters so much that when they leave their mission, that they can be an anchor to the members where they're from. He really would not give up on any sister disobedient, struggling, or whatever, because he just wanted to make sure that they left so strong and they could strengthen the branch or wherever they came from.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, you both got back from your missions, and I forgot to ask you, Evan, what after high school, what was your education?
So once I graduated from high school, I went and spent 1 year at BYU in Provo, and then after that year is when I went out to my mission, and then I came back and finished up at BYU.
And Lindsey was elementary ed. You studied what?
I studied exercise science, actually. So
me too. I always say I was a jazzercise major.
That's pretty much what I was. Everyone else in my major was pretty much doing athletic training or things like that.
Jazzercise.
And I really thought I was going to end
I was a pre-med jazzercise major.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And you've ended up as a lawyer, so it clearly went pretty well.
So that was your undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
And then how did the two of you guys meet?
So I moved to Utah to teach. So I was teaching 8th grade, and then Evan was
I had graduated, and so I was applying to medical school, and I was a ski bum, essentially.
Yes.
I was teaching ski lessons at Park City and Snowbird, and kind of interviewing, kind of working. I had a much easier schedule
Yeah.
when we met than Lindsey did. That's for sure.
Sounds like you
Yes.
still do.
Yeah, he does. He has a good life.
Yep. It seems to be this rotating schedule, but I think that's coming to an end with the baby.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
But yeah, we had our roommates were all friends, and we started dating, and everyone was like, "Oh, no," they're like, "Oh yeah."
No one had like thought to like set us up or anything like that.
Yeah, and
or-
then we started dating. They're like, "That makes sense," and we're like, "You guys could have set us up a while ago." But
All right, so what'd you think of him when you first met him?
Ooh.
Oh, well, okay, so I heard he was from Georgia, and I was excited because I'm like, I love country music, and I was excited. I'm like, oh, he's maybe like a cute southern guy for a change. I was dating like California guys. And then we went on our date, and I told him, I'm like, I love country music. Like, you're from Georgia. And
Do you even like country music?
he hates
Before Lindsey and I started dating, I had never listened to country music.
hated
I hated
it.
country music, but Lindsey has
He,
converted
to
me to
the
country
point-
music.
to the point where it was like a legit red flag for him.
It was a beige flag for sure. I was like, I don't
And
know
he
if I
was
can do country music for the
concerned-
rest of my life. I don't know if I can do
He
it.
was concerned to go on a family trip of mine because we went boating, and I told him, I was like, we listen to country music like the whole week, and he's like,
I didn't know
he
if
was
I could do it.
scared. He was not sure if he could do it, but now he willingly goes to concerts and is a good
We've
husband.
been to country concerts. We're
Yeah.
listening to a lot of country Christmas music right now. I sing country songs when they're on in the car. So.
But I liked that he skied. We were both skiers, and yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you think, Evan, when you first met her?
I thought Lindsey was really, really cute, and she was just so easy to talk to. But I know she liked country music, but like we went on our first date and we went and got ice cream, and we tried to keep it short. I had actually worked that day. I had actually done some tutoring and stuff like that, and I knew Lindsey had to work the next day, so I think we were planning on getting ice cream for like 30 minutes to an hour. And then it was like 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hours later, and we were still talking. And I was like, wow, this was really, really fun. Like, this was a really, really good time. And we just had so many mutual friends and mutual things that we like to do together, and just like a very similar outlook on life. So we just kept hanging out, and it kind of got to the point that, eventually COVID hit too. And so we ended up spending literally
24/7
every day together because Lindsey's job went remote. The ski resort's closed, so I couldn't teach ski lessons anymore. And then, hung out with each other so much. We did a trip to here to California to come see her family. We went to the national parks in Utah. We went whitewater rafting. We just did so many fun things with so many different groups, and it was always fun, and we always wanted to do it with each other. And we're like, all right, this is a pretty good sign that we should probably do this for the rest of our lives.
All right, so that's a good segue. How'd you guys know each other was the one?
Oh my goodness. I love how you look at me and you're going to make
I
me
Well,
know.
answer.
I should say for the listeners, Lindsey's head swung around really quickly.
I know. How do you know,
I was gonna say.
Evan? Evan has a really bad memory, so that's why I'm making him
Yeah,
do this first.
No, it was interesting. I feel like Lindsey and I had gone through very similar things in the past and had a lot of shared perspective, and it was funny. I think both Lindsey and I were
We both too, to cut it, like, we had dated a bunch when we came home from our missions too, and we weren't like one of those that came home right away, and like he wasn't the first person I dated when I got home, and I wasn't the first person he dated. And so I think we had dated and had some serious relationships, and then when we found each other, we had kind of sifted through what we didn't want.
Mhm. And it was interesting. I think from the very first time that we met, I remember like talking to my parents and talking to friends, and it was like I just remember saying like, I feel like this girl is different. Like she's had different experiences. Like she understands things. She acts a different way, and that just held true through our entire time dating and into our marriage. And it was just kind of like a slow, gradual, like just more confirmations after confirmations that this is who I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And it was funny. I remember we came down to California, and I was interviewing for medical schools, and there was a couple options, and I had just gotten into UC San Diego, and we came out here to look at places for me to live. and you know,
by
myself, and we
So you come together to
we
look
came
for you.
exactly
Yeah.
well because Lindsay's family was here, so of course
that's
she should
true.
come down.
Yeah.
But then we were driving around looking a place for me to live, and we got down here and we went to La Jolla Cove and we went to the campus, and I think we both kind of knew in that moment there's no way that I'm coming down here alone. Like there's no way that we're gonna do long distance and keep you in Utah. Like Lindsay had just gotten a new great job up there, and you know there's a lot of things that could have kept her in Utah, and we had been dating for a little while at that time, but not a super long time, and we just kind of took a step back, and I think we realized that we wanted to get married, and I wanted Lindsay to come out here with me, so we had a COVID wedding. It was August of 2020, and we did it outside, and we had to drive to San Bernardino just to find a marriage license in California because all the courthouses were closed.
Yep.
But everything worked out so perfectly, and I'm so grateful that we ended up getting married, because first year med school was really hard, and so it was really nice to have Lindsay here with me, and she was working remotes and I was studying remote essentially, so we got to spend a lot of time together that first year of marriage, which was really, really fun for us.
Good. So maybe you want to tell everybody what you're studying, what your plans are, and then Lindsay afterwards share about what you're doing as far as a career right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I am in my 4th year of medical school right now at UCSD. I'm applying into anesthesia residencies right now, and kind of the unique thing with anesthesia is that you do an intern year and then you do your anesthesia training after that. So I'm interviewing for both intern programs and also interviewing for anesthesia programs. So we'll see in March of 2024 where we're going to be for the next 4 years. But I think both of us are really hoping to stay here in Southern California, especially just here in San Diego.
Yeah. So I teach 4th grade. And this is I taught actually a high school and middle school before we moved to California, and I never thought I'd teach elementary school, which is but happened to get a job at this great small private Christian school, and I love it. So I teach 4th grade, but we're expecting our first baby, which is a boy, in February. So after that, I know, we're so excited.
I know, can't believe that.
After that, I'm going to take the rest of the year off, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, go from there with residency and maybe go back to work, or maybe be home with baby boy the entire time. We'll kind of see where things take us.
Isn't that interesting? You started these careers, you both got these careers, and you're at that time in life where, hey, listen, everything's up in the air, you're going to get figured out, but you got these experiences where the Spirit's going to guide and all these sorts of things. So you got the fun times ahead of you guys now.
Yeah.
We're really excited. A lot
of unknown, but we
so
feel good
much
about
unknown,
it.
but it feels good. And man, things are just flying by. I feel like it was just yesterday that we found out that Lindsay was pregnant, and now we're expecting a baby in just a couple of months, and I feel like I just started medical school, and
you're graduating.
and now I graduate next year. So yeah, it goes by so
exciting.
fast.
Well, let's learn some real stuff about you guys. So favorite music we already know is country, and
I'm more of like indie. Like I grew up on alternative music from my parents. They were kind of 80s
Small
new
bands,
wave, like random bands, and so that's kind of what I grew up on.
Okay.
I've just kind of stuck with that.
favorite foods?
Thai food.
Probably sushi right now. I'm a big sushi and poke right now.
Yeah.
Do you guys got a favorite restaurant around here?
We love Din Tai Fung,
Yes.
which is so good. Big fan of Jake's. What are you gonna say?
Bangkok Thai.
Bangkok Thai is so
Right.
good.
I
That has
like
been
that
a
one.
go-to.
Yeah.
I think
Any
Lindsay,
Asian food. We love Asian food.
I think Lindsay might be the first person that has craved yellow curry their entire pregnancy, but
I feel like that's an
in the
aversion
first
for a lot of
trimester when
people.
Lindsay was throwing everything up, she didn't throw up
Not the
curry.
curry.
So
So I ate that
All right.
4 times a week.
Do you guys got a favorite dessert?
Lindsay made
Treats?
tres leches cake the other day.
Oh, good.
Which was amazing, and
Yeah,
I think
that's our
that might be
favorite.
Lindsay's go-to. And then, for some reason, growing up, my parents always made this my mom always made this chocolate and raspberry cake, and so that was kind of nostalgic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hobbies. What do you guys like to do for hobbies nowadays?
We since we're in California, just like being outside, lots of walks, going to the beach, hikes. skiing. We usually make a few ski trips during the winter. This year we did not, obviously, because I'm pregnant. But maybe he'll always win it.
Yeah, we'll see. And then I spent a lot of time mountain biking. I've played golf a lot recently. I'm still
Surfing.
really bad at it. I try to surf, also bad at that, but skiing and mountain biking are kind of my two go-tos still.
All right, what do you guys got on your watch list on TV these days or on streaming?
Oh, I feel like we've finished everything.
What's something you finished that you liked?
Lessons in Chemistry.
Lessons in
That was
Chemistry
good.
was
That was
really
really
good
good.
on Apple TV.
I didn't know it was a book, though, before I watched it.
Somebody else chewed me out for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That was good. All the Light We Cannot See.
Oh, that's another
that was a
one.
good one. I like the Welcome to
also a book.
Wrexham series.
Which series? I'm sorry.
Welcome to Wrexham. It's about
Yeah.
The soccer league.
buying the soccer club in Wales and stuff like that. Lindsay's got a whole lot more than I do.
Mine are all chick flicks, so he doesn't
Yeah, Lindsay
think
has her
so.
stuff, and then I have mine.
Those are the ones that we watched together.
Yes.
My favorite was a year or two ago. Cassie got into K-pop, and all of a sudden my entire Netflix was filled with K-pop suggestions. Anyway, it's funny. So, okay, let's see. Star Wars, Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, Lindsay, I think this is a little known secret about Lindsay. I don't think Lindsay has seen any of the Star Wars movies. She's never seen any of
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
I'm deflated.
And this is what I grew up on. Like, I remember watching
Yeah.
the extended editions of Lord of the
And
Rings.
he has
and,
tried, but I fall asleep every time. So
I let Lindsay just watch her chick flicks, and I can watch Lord of the Rings extended edition on my own time.
Well, that's true. Well, that's exciting. That's good. So, last question. Tell me about, growing up in the church. We all have our own conversion story. Whether you're in or around the church, we all have a conversion story. Tell me about your conversion stories.
I think for me, mine was like gradual. So I grew up in a member family, like kind of part member family. My parents divorced when I was younger, and then my mom stayed in the church, and my dad is still very Christian and goes to his own church or a different church, but not active LDS. He was like super supportive of our missions and everything, but I think kind of from a young age I realized like I kind of had an option if I wanted to, because I didn't have both parents that were like on me to go to church or go to seminary. I had like a choice, and so I just naturally kept making the choice to be active and stay and do all those things. And then I think that was like really solidified on my mission too, when a lot of your like beliefs are challenged, and you have a lot of time to think about like why you're there and why you're sharing that message with other people, and if you really believe it. And so yeah
I think mine was also gradual. Like I talked about earlier, growing up in Georgia, there's not a ton of members of the church, so kind of similar to what Lindsay said, she kind of had a choice, and I felt like I definitely had a choice as well. I didn't have to act like the LDS kid at
your
church.
mom's a convert too.
Yeah, and my mom got baptized in her early 20s, and her parents aren't members of the church, and so it kind of gave me the opportunity at an early age to decide what I wanted to do, if I wanted to go to seminary or not, if I wanted to keep these principles and values that we held closely in the church, and if I wanted to go to church on Sunday and things like that. So it was nice to have moments to use my agency early on and to see like the blessings and the comfort and how things went as I made decisions to stay into the gospel. And then going to BYU, and I remember my freshman year taking religion classes and taking mission prep and taking Book of Mormon and just reading the scriptures more and more, and also just finally being surrounded by more LDS people that were similar to me, and realizing that I'm not the only one that is a member of this faith and is proud to be a member of this faith. And then going on my mission, I feel like that was just such a transformational time for me. You dive into the scriptures, you see and experience so many amazing things that still, I love looking back, the other week we talked about our missions, and I love looking back at the pictures and the journal entries and things like that just remind you of those sweet experiences. And I think today, every day is just more of a conversion story of just seeing how amazing the gospel has been with Lindsey and I moving out here, and
and going through trials in life, like individually and then married, and always being able to like rely on the Savior, and seeing how blessed we are to have that eternal perspective just continues to add to that, because it's a process, and I think we'll always need to work on strengthening our testimonies and as we go throughout life. But
I love it. I was just thinking, I was looking over your Christmas tree. It's Christmas season already. You got Christ written over there on your ornament, stuff like that. Do you guys have a favorite Christmas memory or tradition that sticks with you?
I grew up in a family with not a whole lot of Christmas traditions, but I have a lot of good Christmas memories. You're smiling at me, Lindsey, like you have one that comes to mind.
No, I'm laughing because his family's not really, they don't have a lot of traditions, because he has one other brother. Their tradition is skiing, I guess.
Yes.
That's a great tradition.
Yeah.
My
family acted out the nativity with all the cousins every Christmas. And so, I don't know, we're excited to make our own traditions now, because we're going to we'll have our little boy with us next Christmas.
I know.
So
I'm excited to start making some new ones.
I'm sure skiing will be involved.
I hope skiing will be involved. It's funny when you said like Christmas memories. I don't have a ton of traditions, but I remember the first Christmas back from my mission. I hadn't seen my family in 2 years, and so I wanted to do Christmas all together. So we ended up going out to Park City, and I told my parents, I said, I don't care what I get for Christmas. I just want there to be a surprise, and I want us to be together. And I remember waking up Christmas morning and going down, there's this big black trash bag underneath the tree. And I was like, what on earth is in this trash bag? And my mom was like, you wanted a surprise. And I was like, you're right, I did want a surprise. But I'm like, what is in this thing? And I opened it up, and my mom had gotten us an antelope head to hang on the wall of my college apartment. And I was like, well, you sure surprised me.
His bachelor pattern,
and
all
that
his
thing
remains,
hung on my apartment. It was hanging on the wall when Lindsey and I were dating. And
it did not
make it into the California apartment. But it lives on. I still see pictures every once in a while of my friends saying, like, isn't this your antelope head? So it's still in one of my buddies' houses in Utah. So that was definitely memorable. That was a good one from my mom, for sure.
Yeah.
Well done. That's cool. Well, I really enjoyed getting to know you guys and spend some time with you. So thank you very, very much for making the time and sharing some of about you. And now everybody in the ward gets to know a little bit about the Jensens. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.